Hey Liverpool fans, have you seen the latest release? At Anfield Index, we've teamed up with Liverpool FC to announce that the brand new 24-25 LFC Nike home kit and anthem jacket are out now, and they're hotter than ever. The brand new kit pays homage to the legendary Rome 1984 side, featuring sleek pinstripe detailing that brings a touch of history to our modern game. Whether you're cheering from the Kop or watching from home, you'll feel the spirit of the Reds coursing through every stitch. The best part? You can grab yours today. The new kit and training range are available in official stores, online, and through the LFC store app. Don't wait, order now and be ready to show your Liverpool pride and style. Get your hands on the new 24-25 LFC home kit and anthem jacket today. Let's make this season unforgettable. You'll never walk alone.
It's done.
Connor McDavid! It's not real!
The goal of the year,
Panarin!
part of the past. The celebrations, forgotten. The history,
Vegas Golden Knights!
history. We're back to a blank slate. Clean ice. All that matters now is what happens next. The Stanley Cup playoffs.
Eastern Conference Final begins Wednesday.
Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America NA, member FDIC.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to the final episode of Stat Me Up for the season. Ladies and gents, it's the end of an era, isn't it? Jurgen Klopp's reign, Jurgen Klopp's tenure at Liverpool has come to an end, and he signs off in style with a 2-0 win against Wolves, and importantly, a place in our hearts forever. What a day it was, what an atmosphere it was. Here to talk about that with me and everything Jurgen Klopp and this season related is as ever, Ben Bocsak. Ben, they have a weird day yesterday, wasn't it, in one sense? An amazing day in others. How are we?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still really tough to process. Like, I think it won't sink in until Arne Slot actually walks in through the doors and sort of does his first press conference and his first training session. Until then, I'm still kind of like, a part of me still expecting Jurgen Klopp to rock up next season and be the Liverpool manager and start all over again. But obviously that's not going to be the case. And I think it was a sort of weird time to be a Liverpool fan yesterday. The game itself almost didn't really matter. I mean, it mattered that Liverpool got the 3 points. So, you know, we could go out on high, go out with a win. But apart from that, it didn't really matter in terms of what happened on the pitch. It was all about Jurgen Klopp and his final day. And that's what I think everyone was maybe looking forward to, the speech at the end, the celebrations, rather than the game itself. So it was I can't remember a time when something like that happened at Liverpool in the final game of the season. I don't think that's ever happened, really.
Yeah, just surreal. I was there yesterday, and even before the scenes along Anfield Road as the coach came in, the chanting before we actually came onto the pitch when Jurgen Klopp came out, even just for the warm-ups, and right to the end and all the way through. It's just surreal in one way. It almost feels like a death in the family, this, doesn't it, with Jurgen leaving? But there we are. And to be fair, if the media team have got any sense about them, they will use Jurgen Klopp singing in the Arne Slot announcement video, won't they, that way? So we'll have to see if that comes to fruition. I mean, normally on these, Ben, we jump straight into the game and we start talking stats. Obviously, we are on Stat Me Up, but we've just got to talk Jurgen Klopp for a little bit. That seems right. It seems the important thing to do as well. I mean, I know you did an article on it and people might not have caught it all for Anfield Index, but the headline stats the man leaves with, like his win percentage, trophies, there's some massive call-outs in there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, 62% win percentage is the best of any Premier League manager in the history of the club. I think that's probably the headline stat.
Wow.
In terms of honours, he did have to compete against a Pep Guardiola side that are unprecedented, I think, in the Premier League. So maybe his honour list isn't as high as it should be. I think you can make an argument for that. But regardless, I excluded the Community Shield victory, so I'm just doing proper trophies, and he's won 7 of those, which is joint alongside Bill Shankly, and only Bob Paisley has one more, but obviously Bob Paisley sort of masterminded, I think, an area of Liverpool history that is going to be very, very difficult to replicate for anyone. In that period, I think Liverpool were by far the best team in the world, and given the likes of Real Madrid and Manchester City's about, I think it's a lot more difficult to do that nowadays, but still 7 trophies is an incredible achievement for Jurgen Klopp. And on top of that, all the runners-up places and the second spots. Yeah, okay, it's people kind of overlook that, but I think it's still important to sort of mention, because for me, football is all about the experience, and we've had very enjoyable experiences sort of chasing the titles, going on those runs in the Champions League finals, and it might have ended in heartbreak a few times, but I'd still do it all over again, over maybe getting to a quarter-final or a semi-final. It's all about the journey, and it's all about the experiences along the way, and I think he's created so many of those memories and special occasions, so that has to be highlighted too.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're on Stat Me Up, and you're right. You think about like the feelings, the experience. Like, as much as we do talk about stats, how many other managers could bring that Barcelona semi-final second leg to life and make you feel that way? You think of all the great nights that have been at Anfield, even just the great games as well, the late wins, all those types of things. And people will know all these, but the Dortmund win, all the big ones that we've had, it all comes down to Jurgen Klopp, simple as that. And this will be interesting because, I mean, it was at Anfield yesterday, the full songbook was on. Gini Wijnaldum got one, Sadio got one, Bobby got one, like the full sort of list of the great players of Jurgen Klopp's tenure got a full run out and their songs sung. I mean, when you stack it up in terms, because we are on Stat Me Up, so when we look at the leaders in terms of players under Klopp, and be it things like top scorer, top number of performances, top assists, all those got the songbook, didn't they, yesterday, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you'll guess this, but for me, this was a bit of a surprise when I'm going through like the numbers. Do you know who played the most games under Jurgen Klopp?
Got to be Bobby, surely. I bet money on Bobby.
You're right, but for me, I don't know why, but it was a surprise for me that it was actually him. He played 355 games.
Wow.
Salah, very close. Maybe if he didn't get his injury, he would have been number 1 this season. But he ended up with 349 games under Klopp. And I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that if you're looking at the goals scored, Salah is top with 211 goals. But he's also top with the assists as well, with 89 assists under Jurgen Klopp. So he tops both of those lists. The top 3 goal scorers under Klopp are to be expected. Again, Sadio Mane and Firmino. There's quite a significant drop-off in 4th place. Diego Jota comes in with, I think, just over 50 goals.
Wow.
But it's 56 goals. So the third most goals scored is by Firmino with 111. So it's like half of Firmino's in fourth place.
Massive, yeah.
That kind of shows you the impact of that front three and how amazing they were during their time at Liverpool. But, Jota has done quite decently as well. Maybe if he didn't get all those injuries, he could have gotten a lot close to Firmino. But I think those three are the top sort of players in terms of the attacking numbers anyway under Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you talk about those. We've always talked about them as the OGs, haven't we? The original front three, as it were. And like even that drop off there. And there's always been someone kind of dovetailing that famous front three. They had Shaqiri for a while, didn't they? They had Diogo Jota right at the end, as it were. And Jota's more than just a dovetail now, don't get me wrong. But look at that difference even there between Bobby and Diogo. Yeah, it's it.
Origi gets in the top 5 as well, which is a surprise behind Jota with 41 goals. So I think that one is, he's kind of he's known for the famous goals, the big goals, but maybe people forget that actually, he scored quite a lot of them in the Klopp era as well. So he's not just those few. Well, I wouldn't say one goal wonder because he scored a few of those special goals, but you know what I mean. Like he scored quite a high volume when it comes to the Klopp era in terms of output. So I think that's another one that maybe people wouldn't expect, But he makes the top 5.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, because when you think of Divock Origi and the Jurgen Klopp era, you probably think he doesn't score that many. He just saves them for Champions League finals or big occasions or a Merseyside derby or something like that. But yeah, he even makes the top 5. And I mean, we talked about pure trophies. It puts him level with Shankly. That he's in the pantheon of greats. But more importantly for us, I know this is a bit of a deviation from Stat Me Up. He gave us a modern great, didn't he? People sort of a certain age or sort of below maybe 50 or so like ourselves, you look at it and think it's not just looking back to a relic of something or to being talked about in history. He actually gave us a modern day great, didn't he, when we talk about him?
I think so. And I think, he's by far the most successful manager in terms of trophies in the Premier League era for Liverpool. So, yeah. 100%. And I think for me, the other thing that I wanted to sort of highlight is the legacy that he leaves behind in terms of the youngsters that are coming through right now. He's by far the manager who's given the debuts to the most teenagers during their sort of tenure. So he's given 42 in all competitions, 19 in the Premier League. In terms of just like Liverpool's 10 youngest players of all time, 8 made their debuts under Jurgen Klopp, which is just remarkable.
Wow.
Even just looking at this season, I sort of looked at how many players made their debuts in each competition this season under the age of 21. 10 in the Europa League, 7 in the FA Cup, 6 in the Premier League, and 5 debuted in the League Cup, all under the age of 21 in this final season under Jurgen Klopp. So that is a pretty remarkable achievement as well. And obviously, so many of those younger players, like the likes of Jarrell Kwanzaa are in there and Conor Bryant, these kind of names. Like, we hope, and I think it's fair to say that they will be a key part of Liverpool's future in the next sort of few seasons. And under Arne Slot, they are supremely talented, and we're going to talk maybe a little bit about Kwanzaa in particular because he's scored the last goal in the year, and I think it was quite fitting that he got that goal because he's, for me, one of the biggest sort of most exciting parts of Liverpool's future, alongside with Harvey Elliott, who also had a very good game and who we'll also get onto when we talk about the Wolves match a little bit.
Yeah, it's almost fitting that maybe the last trophy in one way of those stats was the Carabao Cup, and we think how many youngsters played in that and how special that was for those circumstances. And like you say, we'd probably best talk about the game a bit, because yesterday it's 2-0 in the sunshine. I mean, Wolves have a man sent off early, and it's 2 youngsters who play a part. Harvey Elliott's assist for McAllister, and Jarrell Kwanzaa keeps getting on the score sheet, doesn't he, actually? He's made a good little habit. Probably won't want the season to end either. I mean, it was a weird game for the obvious backdrop and what was going on. What were your overall thoughts on the game and the performance itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to sort of analyze that game because it's like a typical sort of end of season game on one hand where there's nothing really at stake, but on the other hand, you could tell there was quite a lot at stake for these Liverpool players because they wanted that final win under Jurgen Klopp. So it was sort of difficult. It felt like Wolves maybe didn't want to be there. I mean, Nelson Semedo certainly didn't want to be there. That was a sort of horrific challenge on Alexis McAllister. And if I was an Argentina fan, you know, I would have been concerned ahead of the Copa America because it was a pretty sort of reckless challenge, really, and it could have ended up a lot worse. Thankfully, nothing serious happened to McAllister. But other than that, I thought Liverpool sort of controlled the game, and the Wolves didn't really threaten at all. They got in behind a couple of times, but Liverpool sort of handled those situations really well. Van Dijk and Kwanzaa, both of them did pretty well in terms of handling those situations, and I think there were a few close calls with VAR as well, but again, that was all down to Liverpool having a good setup to make sure you catch them offside, and that's what Jurgen Klopp has been about in his sort of era, getting those sort of marginal offside decisions and errors because you have the high line and you have the strong unit at the back, and that was sort of really good Liverpool defensive performance, I thought, more so than going forward. I thought going forward Liverpool created a lot, but again, maybe that clinical edge was missing a little bit, and that sort of shows that, you know, none of the strikers got on the score sheet. It was a midfielder and a defender who ended up scoring. So that's obviously been the theme of the last few months now for Liverpool.
Yeah, no two ways about it. You look back at the chances yesterday and how Salah, Gakpo, especially Diaz, contrived to not get on the score sheet is anyone's guess, really. They made it as difficult as they could be. As someone said, probably the story of the season a little bit. And stats-wise, to know you always tweet them, you always call them out. Again, like you said, a bit of a strange game, difficult to analyse. But stats-wise, anyone stand out or you think, yeah, that's pretty decent?
Yeah, I mean, Harvey Elliott, I thought he was very good. Created the most chances on the pitch. I think he probably should have got more than one assist, really. Even in terms of his passes, 65 out of 70 passes completed. It was really involved. 5 key passes, 3 out of 4 duels won. He was just sort of everywhere. And I thought it was another really good performance from him. He's been brilliant in the whole of the calendar year so far. And I think it kind of sums up that since he made his first goal contribution this year, which was against Burnley on the 10th of February, no Liverpool player has made more goal contributions than him, which is, on one hand, it shows the forwards not doing their job properly. Yeah. On the other hand, it shows, wow, Elliott's had a brilliant season and he's had 13 goal contributions in the second half of the season. If he continues this form for an entire season, that's a 20 plus sort of goal contribution midfielder. Yeah. That's huge. I think we've never seen Elliott in this kind of form. Even when he was on loan at Blackburn, he wasn't quite reaching these sort of levels, but it just shows he's developing and he's growing all the time. And I'm really excited by sort of him working on the Arne Slot next season.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, depending on how you class Harvey Elliott, he tops those midfield charts, didn't he, with 15 goal contributions for the season, just ahead of Alexis McAllister, as we said, who, you know, probably went on a bit of a barren run, didn't have the best end to the season, but Harvey Elliott on the other side probably did not want the season to end, but here we are. And I mean, when we talk about ending the season, Ben, 82 points. It's one of those totals where you stack it up and you say 82 points isn't bad. You always think that's going to guarantee a Champions League place, which I suppose was the minimum objective, just to be clear, this season. But it's also a points total where you say, yeah, it's not going to take it the 90 plus that you just need nowadays. You dress it up however you want, but it's just a fact of what's needed. I mean, 82 doesn't sound bad, but you may be about to dispel the myth here. Where does that rank in terms of our overall Premier League finishers? What are we talking?
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
It doesn't make the top 5, but it's joint top 6. So there's only been 5 other occasions where Liverpool have gotten more than 82 points in the Premier League era. 3 of them were under Jurgen Klopp, unsurprisingly. Yeah. And the other 2 were the 2008-09 season when Liverpool just missed out on the league title to Manchester United. That was 86 points, if I remember correctly. And that was the 2013-14 season under Rodgers, when again Liverpool just missed out on the Premier League title to Manchester City. Those were the 2 occasions when, before Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool managed to get more points. And then 82 points, as I said, it's joint with the 2006 and 7 season as well, which it was I think that was 2 campaigns after Istanbul, and it was under Rafa Benitez still. So it hasn't happened a lot, to be fair, in the league era. When you think back, there's been over 20 seasons, and it's only happened sort of 6 times. So I think it's still a really good achievement, and it's a really promising achievement with this young team that Liverpool have at the moment. We're talking about Elliot, Kwanzaa, and a lot of other promising players as well, who maybe just haven't reached their potential yet, or haven't fully done what they're capable of. And I think we're going to get touch on to that as well. So talking about the players that we've been a little bit disappointed by this season. So imagine if they can all sort of reach those levels and go a step further next season, get a few extra points, and who knows, it can be even better and maybe even get closer to the league title next season.
He's hoping, a big job Arne Slot's got. But at the same time, as you said, a lot of youth and a lot of promising factors that Jurgen Klopp's leaving behind. And because it is a Stat Me Up, and because it is essentially the end of season, it does seem appropriate to talk team and individual awards, doesn't it, realistically, for what we've seen this season. And we'll keep it, as we always do, Ben, on a stats focus, because that's important. So it's almost a case of making your case for certain things. So it'd be interested to know, from what you see with the stats, one question that keeps coming up, and this is the one that gets debated all throughout the season. What's been Liverpool's best 11 this season, based on how you're seeing the stats?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few tough calls in this. I think the midfield pretty much picks itself for me anyway, with McAllister, Endo, and then Harvey Elliott. Endo ranks out in the top 5 in Europe's top 5 leagues for possession adjusted interceptions out of central midfielders. I think he deserves to be in there. I think maybe he had a little bit of a dip towards the end of the season, but overall, he gets that number 6 position. And then obviously you mentioned earlier, Elliott and McAllister have the sort of most goal contributions from midfield. I think McAllister has 14, Elliott 15. So I think for me, that midfield picks itself. They've been the best, and Elliott won Young Player of the Season, deservedly so. So that picks itself. The question marks for me are attacking wise. I really wanted to put Diego Jota in there, but he's only played 1,700 minutes. And I think that you can't get into like the team of the season with such numbers. So for me, Hakpo, he's got 22 goal contributions. He's been available all throughout the season. So he gets in for me. And then Darwin Nunez, okay, he had a little bit of a dip in form, but 31 goal contributions still this season. That's a really solid number. And he scored 6 sort of match winners as well, which we forget. And that's the most out of any of Liverpool's forwards this season. We kind of forget, because he's had that dip as well, similar to all of Liverpool's players, how good he was earlier on in the campaign and how many important goals he scored as well. And obviously, no question marks about Mohamed Salah in a supposedly poor season. 39 goal contributions in 44 matches is just crazy levels. He's still being really good, even if, again, like the other players, he might not have been up to his best form in terms of towards the end of the season. I think the really difficult questions are when it comes to the defenders, because you can make a case for Kelleher and Alisson as well. Kelleher has actually had more prevented goals in the Premier League than Alisson, but I still think Alisson has played more games, and looking away from the stats, which is ironic for this podcast, I still feel he sort of deserves to be above Kelleher at this stage, although Kelleher has made a really good sort of state in terms of whether he might deserve to be in the conversation. So I think it's the first time when Alisson wasn't guaranteed, but I think I still pick him as my number 1. Right back again, Conor Bradley has made a good statement, but if we're going on the same basis as the Diego Jota one, 1,500 minutes, just not enough to get into that conversation. Although 7 goal contributions, in that time is really impressive from fullback. Alexander Arnold only managed 12 in just over 1,100 more minutes for Liverpool. So those are really solid numbers from Bradley. Van Dijk, obviously, 100%.
Easy,
I'm not going to give any spoilers, but he's in my conversation for player of the season, and rightfully so. And the question mark for me is Kwanzaa over Konate. And I was looking at the numbers in terms of defensive duels, sort of possession adjusted interceptions, aerial duels. They're kind of very even, Konate.
Yeah.
So for me, I've gone with, which might not be the right thing to do when it comes to defenders, but I've gone with goal contributions, and Kwanzaa has 6, which is the joint most alongside Van Dijk this season. And I think if you look at the sort of like how effective he has been going forward, not even away from the goal contributions, the sort of runs that he makes to create chances for Liverpool, almost Matip-esque in that way. He deserves it this season to get in ahead of Konate, particularly based on this last sort of run of form towards the end of the season. He's been brilliant. So he gets in it for me. I mean, he's also that clean sheet against Wolves was the first clean sheet in 2024 at Anfield in the Premier League. And obviously Konate started it. So for me, he gets in. And then left back, I don't think Kostas Tsimikas or Joe Gomez made a huge case to sort of be in the running. And on top of that, Robertson towards the end of the season sort of came alive again, and I thought he was one of Liverpool's best players in the last few weeks of the campaign, which is probably good news for Scotland fans ahead of 2024. But yeah, he makes it in for me, and I think that's a pretty accurate sort of team of the season, really, for Liverpool.
Yeah, so it is an interesting one, no doubts about it at all. And probably people will be saying, no, the disagreeing is subjective, but as we said, people were looking at the stats. Everyone will have their own opinion. And stats-wise, because that's the natural focus, Ben, player of the year. There might be a few candidates, but we're focusing on stats. Who's the player of the year on that basis?
Yeah, I think for me, it's Van Dijk. When you're looking at Europe's top 5 leagues out of defenders, he's got scary numbers this season.
Yeah.
The 82% aerial win percentage is the standout stat for me. No one in Europe can even come close to that or compare. So for me, even in the Premier League, he ranks in the sort of top 5 for defensive duels and possession-adjusted interceptions. Like I mentioned, he's got 6 goal contributions, which is the joint most from Liverpool centre-backs this season. And I think overall, he's had a brilliant season. Yes, Liverpool haven't kept a lot of clean sheets, and people might disagree on that based on that point of view. But for me, it hasn't really been down to Van Dijk. Like Van Dijk's individual numbers have been brilliant, and I think a lot of the times it's just been the setup, the sort of maybe the midfield not being the strongest at times, and it cannot be helped that, you know, sometimes Liverpool were just overrun, and I think Van Dijk still did his best. He had to deal with a lot of defensive situations, and you just have to ask yourself, if he wasn't on the pitch, how many more goals would Liverpool have conceded? How many more of those sort of, where would Liverpool be without him? And I think for that reason, he deservedly should win Player of the Season for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think you're going to get anyone not crazy, but will struggle to counter that. That's maybe the best way of putting it. And we do always want to face into it when we're talking about stats, because it is important to have balance. Is there anyone that we're looking at their stats, and sometimes it is the subjective element of knowing how good they are, what they can do, possibly. But is there anyone whose stats you're looking at and thinking maybe a bit disappointed with how their season's gone?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first podcasts we did was about Dominic's, obviously. And for me, I knew in terms of his goal output, things were going to reduce a little bit, because at Leipzig, he was on most corners and he was on penalties and free kicks. And I knew that was not going to be the case at Liverpool, because there's so many other players, like even Harvey Elliott recently has shown that he can put in good deliveries. And I think he's made a good case to be up there with the set piece takers.
Yeah.
So I knew his numbers were going to reduce, but I still think they kind of reduced more than I expected them to. And I even at the start of the season, when everyone was excited about him, I still thought, this is not the best version of him. This is not what I've seen at Leipzig. This is not what I see for Hungary. And I think then it's been an even bigger downfall towards the second half of the season, when he's been in the shadow of himself, really. And I think it has been a little bit concerning, a little bit disappointing, because before, at the start of the season, I think you can make the case, okay, he's going forward, he's not making as many contributions as we have seen for Leipzig or for Hungary, but ranking in the top for recoveries, like pressing a lot, making a lot of key defensive contributions. Now in the second half of the season, he's not even doing those, and I think that was one of the reasons why in the end Jurgen Klopp dropped him for the last few weeks of the campaign, because even recovery wise and sort of winning his duels, he wasn't winning them a lot. So I think it's definitely a learning curve of a campaign for him. I think I'm hoping to see a lot more, but for me, he was the one who has been the most disappointing. Just because I was expecting a lot more, and I think, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next, because he's going to be starting with a fresh, clean slate next season, which might work in his favour, because I think if Jurgen Klopp stayed as manager, Harvey Elliott right now is the shoe-in in his position. But with a clean slate, with a fresh slate, he can sort of start again and prove himself to Arne Slot. So that might work in his advantage.
Yeah, it's a difficult one with Szoboszlai, because you want to be fair and you think, he was one of 3 players that had a major injury and then within 2 games was back out with the same injury, which probably the bit that's been brushed over this season, hasn't it? The injury side and those types of things. But yeah, you have to be honest at the same time, and people will point to his work schedule and how much he played. And I get that for Szoboszlai, but I think it's right. He did just look a shadow of himself. And against the Everton in the derby, he was just bullied out of it. People can dress that up how they want, but that's the fact. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's interesting. He does, with the Euros, probably look into the summer, maybe needs a fresh approach, won't hurt him, shall we say, is maybe the best way of putting it. And also it'll be interesting, won't it? Because he came on even on the left wing. So what position does Arne Slot deploy him in will be interesting to see. A lot to think about for Szoboszlai and the next season. And the final bit, Ben, it shouldn't be forgotten this season, because it's easy to sort of end it on a low and say we didn't challenge everything. But there has been, we want to be fair, some brilliant performances at times this season. Stats-wise, what's the one you point to and think, yeah, that was the one of this season or this campaign that was pretty special?
It's a difficult one. I mean, I'd wanted to pick the big games, but stats-wise, obviously, those were quite close. So I picked one where Liverpool were sort of just completely and utterly dominant, and that was the Anfield Sparta Prague, which I think might have been a controversial game for many people, because Liverpool had already had, I think, a 5-1 from the first leg. So to start, Jurgen Klopp actually went with a really strong starting 11 for that game, but the pressing was really good, and Liverpool completely annihilated Sparta Prague at Anfield and won 6-1. And I think it was probably Mohamed Salah's best individual game of the campaign. He got 3 assists and a goal, was involved in everything, and created 9 chances, which no one had done this season. So both in terms of team performance and then also individual performance, I think that was the top, sort of the best individual performance we've seen from a Liverpool player, and the best performance of the season that we've seen from Liverpool. I think the only one that comes close is the 5-1 annihilation of West Ham in the League Cup as well.
Yeah.
And for me, in that one, the individual performance that stands out is Trent Alexander-Arnold coming on with just, I think, half an hour to go, creating 6 chances, which was the most in the game in 30 minutes, getting 2 assists. And if I had to pick a best sort of individual sub appearance, it would be that appearance from Alexander-Arnold, because it was pretty special. And that was a time of the season when Alexander-Arnold was just having the time of his life. I think he switched to the Adidas Predators and sort of went on a crazy, unreal sort of run of form before that injury, which unfortunately sort of halted what could have been potentially one of his best individual seasons. But yeah, for me, those 2 games stands out in terms of utter domination and annihilation, and just a really, really dominant Liverpool performance.
Crazy to think. Yeah, I won't lie, I would almost forgotten about those games, Sparta Prague, because we destroyed them away, we destroyed them at home. Yeah, that Carabao Cup, I remember how much stick David Moyes got for that at the time. And yeah, you even think, because I'd have thought you might have gone with like the Newcastle one, where the XG was something like 7.6 or something crazy. Chelsea were battered at home, but yeah, the stats paint a picture. And it is important we do remember that, people, because I know when we talk about the end of the season, it's not what everyone wanted. I get that. It petered out. We didn't play well at the end. I get that completely. I'm not debating that at all. But there were some good points. There were some brilliant moments in this campaign under Jurgen Klopp, as there have been for every single season. So, ladies and gents, there ends the Stat Me Up review for this season. Now, no doubt me and Ben will be back at regular intervals because, I mean, Christ, Ben, there's about 8 million things for the clubs to sort, isn't there? I don't think, I genuinely can't remember unless you can, or think that it could be a busier summer in terms of having to bring staff in to start with, sort contracts. Bloody hell, even just things like before you even get to transfers, which we'll have to do as well. And Arnie's like, I mean, this is going to be a crazy busy summer, surely, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it feels like everything is changing, really. You have a new boardroom coming in. It's not just Jurgen Klopp staff that's leaving.
Yeah.
People like John Achtenberg who've been there before Jurgen Klopp. So you have an entire new, potentially goalkeeping department coming in as well. We've said goodbye to a few players already who are leaving. So they'll need to be replaced, I think. And yeah, it just feels like it's just going to be a summer of change, which I think is a good reason why Arne Slot is coming in, because at least in terms of the playing style, it's going to be a little bit of continuity. Like, it won't be entirely identical, but at least in terms of the pressing that he wants, that's not going to be new for Liverpool's players. Liverpool's players will know what to expect and what to bring. And I think there's a reason why I was speaking to a player who played for Campbell under 21, that was Arne Slot's first sort of managerial job. And he was telling me he used to show clips of Borussia Dortmund back then with Jurgen Klopp pressing in the Champions League in the way he wanted them to press. So at least that is going to remain the same. And I think that's really important. And I think that's why he was such a good appointment for Liverpool. I don't believe Amorim was the favourite. I think Amorim's agent wanted him to be the favourite, because I've seen some rumours that apparently Liverpool sort of went first. But for me, I think Slot was always the sort of one who Liverpool had their eyes on and who Edwards and the data team liked. And I think it just makes sense. I think as much as Amorim is a talented manager, you want continuity, and Arne Slot plays far similar system, far similar sort of formation and style to Jurgen Klopp. So it just makes sense. And I think that's really important to have that, and to have that sort of sorted and know a little bit what you're going to expect, because otherwise it's apart from that, everything is going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of changes coming in. And I think at this point, no Liverpool player's future is really certain, which I don't think we've ever had in my time following Liverpool. I don't think that's ever happened. I think we've been in situations when the managers have come in and there hasn't been the budget, there hasn't been the sort of money, so you just have to deal with the players that he has.
Yeah.
But right now, there is the Saudi Arabian market where you can offload players easily and make a lot of money. And obviously, Liverpool are in a far better financial position as well. So they can sort of afford to change the squad around. So it's going to be really interesting.
It is, yeah. Who stays or who goes? Who'd have thought probably the three most influential players of the modern era will all have 12 months to go. There's contracts, there's transfers. There's even 9 members of backroom staff exiting yesterday, which all points towards a very busy summer and some transfer market metrics to discuss at the same time as well. So, all it leaves me to say is, Ben, for the final time this season on Stat Me Up, thanks for the insight, pal. Thanks for the chat. Appreciate it as ever. Yeah,
really enjoyed it. And hopefully we can talk about more exciting times ahead with Arne Slot coming in the next few weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, fingers crossed, eh? But ladies and gentlemen, for the final time under Jurgen Klopp, that was another Stat Me Up for Anfield Index.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.